Thank you for your kind invitation to speak at the Open Day of Voice Vision Africa. Quite recently, the very first blind students of Voice Vision Africa graduated from the Voice Vision training course. And I'm very proud of the students, of their trainers, and of the organization for all the work done on challenging blindness as we know it. Because that is what this is all about, challenging blindness, no longer accepting blindness. Who says that blind people cannot learn to see using technology, much like scientists use microscopes, telescopes, infrared cameras, and so on to see the otherwise invisible? Or fighter pilots wearing augmented reality goggles to see the terrain at night. Sensory inputs can be transformed if need be. For the voice, we merely need generally available smart glasses, such as these glasses, that cost less than $200. Or these newer glasses that offer a better appearance and better vision under low light conditions. Contrary to all expectations, the voice technology is already providing a viable alternative to retinal implants and brain implants for restoring vision. Evidence is building up slowly but compellingly. For instance, at the end of 2018, Voice Vision Russia achieved a major highlight with a blind user of the Voice Vision glasses beating not one, but two recipients of an Argus 2 retinal implant at the Neurothlon 2018 Blind Navigation and Object Identification Contest in Samara, Russia. He actually won by a wide margin using glasses that I showed costing less than $200. To beat $300,000 worth of retinal implant technology. Although I'm aware that hundreds of dollars for glasses is still a lot of money for most blind people, also in South Africa, it is almost 1,000 times less expensive than a retinal implant or a brain implant for vision. Available evidence suggests that the Voice Vision glasses also give more functional vision than brain implants such as the Orion 1 cortical implant that is currently under investigation. And in terms of visual acuity, the voice is equivalent to a pixel-perfect implant having thousands of electrodes, and yet it involves no surgery. Now, we are not making bold claims here without evidence. There are dozens of scientific papers written by independent researchers addressing different aspects of using the voice to see with or without quotes. A study at Harvard Medical School with the voice showed that the visual cortex gets functionally involved in using the voice, meaning that if you temporarily disturb the visual cortex with magnetic pulses, vision with the voice is negatively affected, supporting the idea that the visual cortex is used in decoding the visual soundscapes of the voice. However, the biggest challenge today is no longer in developing and refining the voice technology, although that is ongoing. Nor is it in showing that it recruits the visual cortex, nor is it in making it affordable and widely available. The biggest challenge is to master seeing differently, learning to interpret vision and code it in sound. The voice turns a rising bright line into a rising tone, and your brain needs to mentally map that rising tone back to a rising line, basically visualizing that line to see it without eyesight. Now, this is fairly easy for simple scenes, like with a rising bright line or a few bright specks of light or a filled rectangle, but it gets excruciatingly hard for typical environmental scenes with lots of objects and textures in foreground and background with partial occlusion, visual perspective, shading, and so on and so forth. Current indications are that it takes some 3 months of practice to get somewhat familiar with using the voice, such that it no longer requires conscious attention all the time to make good use of it. But even then, many things remain hard, such as identifying arbitrary objects. Still, by then, it has become very helpful in anticipating from a distance what is coming up while navigating, thus complementing use of the long cane or a guide dog. Today, no one knows yet how proficient blind users of the voice can get at interpreting soundscapes visually. So that is an ongoing quest for answers. It is also highly dependent on training support. Just like very few people manage to master a foreign language entirely on their own, and they need teachers to train them, this is equally important for blind users of the voice. A sighted teacher can say, "Look to your right," and you hear the rhythm that expands, corresponding to buildings with rows of windows that line the street. Those windows are too distant and often too high up to explore through touch, making it hard to figure it all out without a sighted teacher trainer explaining what you are hearing in the soundscapes of distant objects. Similarly, the voice gives a distinctive sound texture for the stripes of a zebra crossing. But how do you know? You cannot touch the painted stripes to verify what you think is there. There too, sighted training support matters, and after a while, you will readily detect the characteristic sound of the parallel bright lines of a zebra crossing on your own. But you first have to learn the association. So vision training matters a lot. It is also something that must be done one-on-one between sighted trainer and blind trainee, and the trainer obviously has to make a living. So there is a cost in training blind people to see. This is where we need your help and support, because not charging for the technology also means that we lack the money to implement training for blind users of the voice. Voice Vision Africa made a great start in training blind users of the voice in South Africa, but they need your long-term support, financially and otherwise, to push further, exploring also if use of the voice can help improve employability of blind people. Training expenses need to be covered one way or the other to make the voice available to more than a few relatively rich people who can afford to pay for training out of their own pocket. Please consider. The voice vision glasses are orders of magnitude cheaper than a retinal implant or a brain implant. They give higher visual acuity, require no surgery, unlike an implant can be easily replaced if they break, and unlike an implant they work also for early blind people, congenitally blind people. What else do you want? Instant sight with the sensation of light, like with the implants? Yes, we want that too. And we are constantly on the lookout for scientific leads in that direction. But after the honeymoon experience of perceiving light again subsides a little, the focus moves to what you can actually do with it. That is the functional vision part. In functional vision, the available evidence appears in favor of the voice. So again, we have come a long way, but to really make a dent, Voice Vision Africa needs resources to continue, to train more blind people in South Africa, to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of vision training programs, to report and publish about progress, but also about any issues encountered. What can blind people reasonably expect from their training efforts? After a day, a week, a month, a year? We do not have a clear picture of that yet, but it is important to know this in order to make cost-benefit trade-offs. So please consider supporting Voice Vision Africa with whatever means you can offer, financially, but also through, say, collaboration with universities for scientific studies. Total blindness is no longer a fate that you must learn to accept, but a fate that you can fight back against. My dream is of blind people as proudly independent people who just happen to use available tools to compensate for lack of eyesight. Just like you and I use smartphones or perhaps soon smart glasses too, to communicate, make appointments, search for information, read the news, and so on. If we do not consider ourselves disabled for being limited without such tools, why should blind people be considered disabled if they only need smart glasses to see? Thank you for your attention and consideration.